The specimen observation bay was quiet at this hour. Dr. Hana liked it that way. She could focus better when the rest of the research station slept. Her fingers moved across the holographic display, recording data from the latest samples brought up from Velcros Prime. The jungle planet below them held thousands of undiscovered species, and each one needed careful study. Hana pushed a strand of dark hair behind her ear and leaned closer to examine a plant sample. The purple leaves seemed to glow in the lab's soft lighting. She made a note about the bioluminescence and moved on to the next container. This work never felt like work to her. Every new discovery was a gift, a chance to understand life beyond Earth. The station hummed around her, a constant background sound she had learned to ignore. Outside the reinforced windows, Velcros Prime rotated slowly, its green and blue surface covered in clouds. Somewhere down there, creatures moved through dense forests, hunting and hiding. Living lives humans were only beginning to understand. Hana reached for her water bottle and took a sip. She had been working for 6 hours straight. Jiwoo, her young assistant, had offered to stay with her, but Hana had sent him to bed. The kid needed rest. He worked too hard, always eager to prove himself useful. Hana smiled at the thought. She had been the same way at his age. Something brushed against her forearm. Hana froze. The touch was light, almost gentle. She looked down slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. Her breath caught in her throat. A small creature was wrapped around her arm. It had scaled skin that shimmered between dark purple and black like oil on water. Its body was long and flexible, similar to a cat's but covered in those beautiful scales. Forelegs ended in tiny claws that gripped her sleeve with surprising gentleness. A tail, thin and delicate, curled around her wrist. The creature's head rested against her forearm. Its eyes were closed. Small breathing sounds came from its slightly open mouth, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. The creature was asleep. Hana's mind raced through her xenobiology training. The body structure, the scales, the retractable claws visible at the paw tips. Her heart began to pound. This was a Velcry cub, an infant of the most dangerous predator species known to the galaxy. The Velcry were legendary hunters. Adults stood 3 meters tall and could tear through starship hulls with their claws. They had conquered 12 worlds before the Galactic Council convinced them to stop expanding. Other species feared them. The Velcry feared nothing, and one of their cubs was sleeping on Hana's arm like a house cat. This made no sense. Predator cubs had survival instincts. They avoided unknown creatures, especially potential threats. Humans were classified as prey category in Velcry assessments. The cub should be hiding from her, not sleeping peacefully against her skin. Hana stood perfectly still. She could feel the cub's heart beat fast and light like a bird's. Its body was warm, warmer than human temperature. The scales felt smooth under the few places where her skin touched them. The creature couldn't be more than a few weeks old. It was beautiful. The cub made a soft chirping sound in its sleep. One tiny paw twitched. The tail tightened slightly around Hana's wrist, then relaxed again. The creature looked completely at peace. Hana glanced at the ventilation grate high on the wall. It hung open, bent outward. The cub must have crawled through the station's air systems. How had it gotten onto the station at all? The Velcry didn't live here. Their nearest settlement was 3 systems away. She needed to alert security. This was a breach, a potentially deadly one. If an adult Velcry was looking for this cub, the entire station could be in danger. But something stopped her from reaching for her communicator. The cub shifted slightly, pressing closer to her warmth. It made another small sound, content and safe. In all her years studying alien species, Hana had never seen anything like this. The trust this tiny creature showed was incredible. Wrong, according to every scientific paper ever written about Velcry behavior, but incredible. She thought about Taeyang, the security officer who would be on duty now. He was a good man, trained and careful, but he would see a threat. He would follow protocol. The cub would be sedated, contained, removed. Maybe hurt in the process. The thought made Hana's chest tighten. The cub's breathing was steady and slow. Deep sleep. It must have been exhausted. Hana looked at the equipment around her lab. Climbing structures, shelving units, containers stacked high. The little creature had probably climbed for a long time before reaching her. Before choosing her. That word stuck in her mind. Choosing. Had the cub chosen her specifically? Or had it simply been tired and found the nearest warm body? Hana wanted to believe it was choice, but she was a scientist. She dealt in facts, not feelings. Still, the facts didn't explain this. Nothing in the database explained this. Hana carefully moved her free hand toward the cub. She stopped centimeters away from its head. The creature didn't stir. Slowly, so slowly, she let her fingertips touch the scales near its ear. They were soft there, more like leather than armor. The cub made a pleased sound, almost a purr. Something warm spread through Hana's chest. This was wrong on every professional level. She should report this immediately. But this moment felt important in a way she couldn't explain. This tiny predator, this creature that should fear or hunt her, was sleeping peacefully in her presence, trusting her completely. The door to the observation bay hissed. Hana's head snapped up. Taeyang stood in the doorway, his hand on his weapon. His eyes went from Hana's face to her arm. She watched his expression change from confusion to shock to alarm. His fingers moved toward the trigger. "Don't," Hana said quietly. "Please, don't." Taeyang's training warred with his trust in Hana across his face. His hand stayed on the weapon, but he didn't draw it. "Dr. Hana," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "Step away from the creature slowly." "It's sleeping," Hana said. "It's just a baby. That baby will grow into a killing machine," Taeyang replied. "We need to contain it now." The cub stirred at the sound of voices. Its eyes opened, revealing irises that glowed a soft gold. The creature looked up at Hana's face. Then it looked at Taeyang. The cub's tail tightened protectively around Hana's wrist. "It's protecting me," Hana whispered in amazement. "Taeyang, it thinks it's protecting me from you." "That's not possible," Taeyang said, but his hand had moved away from his weapon. He stared at the cub with wonder replacing his alarm. Velcry cubs don't bond with other species. They barely bond with their own parents. "I know," Hana said, "but look at it." The cub pressed against her arm, watching Taeyang with cautious but not aggressive eyes. It chirped once, a questioning sound. When Taeyang didn't move closer, the cub relaxed again. It looked back up at Hana and made a different sound, soft and trusting. "I need to call the captain," Taeyang said finally. "This is beyond our protocols." "I know," Hana repeated. She looked down at the small creature wrapped around her arm. "But Taeyang? Please tell him to come alone." "No weapons, no teams, just him." Taeyang hesitated, then nodded. He reached for his communicator, his eyes never leaving the cub. As he spoke quietly to Captain Minho, Hana felt the cub's heartbeat against her skin. Fast and light and alive. Everything was about to change. She could feel it. Captain Minho arrived within minutes. He entered the observation bay without his usual confident stride. His eyes found the cub immediately, and Hana watched him process the impossible situation. To his credit, he didn't reach for a weapon. He simply stood there staring. "How long?" he asked finally. "About 20 minutes, Hana replied. The cub had fallen back asleep, its breathing steady and peaceful. It climbed through the ventilation system. I didn't hear it until it was already touching me. Minho moved closer, his steps careful and measured. The cub's ear twitched at the sound, but it didn't wake. "Velcry cubs are solo hunters by 3 weeks old," he said quietly. "They're supposed to be terrified of anything bigger than them. This one treats you like its mother." "I know it doesn't make sense," Hana said. She had gone through every explanation she could think of. None of them fit. "But it's happening." Taeyang stood by the door, keeping watch. His hand stayed near his weapon, but his posture had relaxed. He seemed more curious now than alarmed. "Should I check the ventilation system? Find out how it got in?" "Not yet," Minho said. He crouched down to be at eye level with the cub. "If there's a breach, it can wait. Right now, we need to figure out what to do about this." The station's communication system chimed. All 3 humans tensed. The cub stirred, making a small questioning sound. Hana instinctively placed her free hand over it, offering comfort. The creature settled immediately at her touch. Minho touched his earpiece. "Captain Minho here." His expression changed as he listened. All color drained from his face. "How many ships? When did they arrive?" He listened for another moment. "Keep all weapons powered down. Do not under any circumstances appear threatening. I'll be right there." He looked at Hana. "There's a Velcry warship in orbit. They arrived 5 minutes ago. They're transmitting distress calls." The pieces clicked together in Hana's mind. "They're looking for the cub." "The transmission is coming from a single Velcry, not the ship's crew," Minho said. "Personal channel. Whoever they are, they're panicking. The translator is having trouble keeping up. They keep saying something about a lost child. Hana looked down at the sleeping cub. A lost child. Someone down there or up there in that warship was desperately searching for this little creature. She felt her throat tighten. We need to tell them the cub is safe. We will, Minho said. But Hana, this is delicate. The Velcri have never made peaceful contact with humans before. Every interaction has been through the Galactic Council. If we handle this wrong, we could start a war. If we don't handle it at all, a parent loses their child, Hana said firmly. The cub's tail tightened around her wrist as if agreeing with her. Send the message. Tell them we have their baby and it's unharmed. Minho studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. Taeyang, go to the communication center. Tell them to open a channel to that Velcri ship. Let them know we found their cub alive and well. Taeyang hurried out. The door hissed shut behind him. What happens now? Hana asked. I don't know, Minho admitted. We're in completely new territory. The Velcri might demand we return the cub immediately. They might see our possession of it as theft or kidnapping. They might... He stopped as the cub made a louder chirping sound. The little creature was waking up properly now. Its golden eyes opened fully, looking around the room with curiosity. It saw Minho and tilted its head, studying him. Then it looked up at Hana and made a different sound, softer and more trusting. It knows you, Minho said with wonder in his voice. Hana, it recognizes you as safe. The cub stretched, its small body extending along her arm. The movement showed just how flexible it was. Every motion was graceful, even clumsy with youth. It yawned, displaying those needle-sharp teeth again, then settled back against her warmth. I think it's hungry, Hana said. The cub was making small sounds and nudging her arm with its nose. But I have no idea what Velcri cubs eat. The database says they nurse for the first 3 months, then transition to meat, Minho said. He was already pulling up information on his portable display. We have protein supplements in storage. Medical grade. It might accept those. We should wait, Hana said. Ask the parent what to feed it. We can't risk making it sick. The communication system chimed again. This time a different voice came through. It spoke in Velcri, a language of clicks and deep rumbling sounds that the translator struggled to convert. Human station, the voice said, translated into somewhat broken English. You have my child. My Sula is alive. Is safe, please. Please answer. The desperation in that voice was unmistakable even through the translation. Hana felt tears prick her eyes. Tell them yes, she said to Minho. Tell them Sula is safe. Minho activated his communicator. This is Captain Minho of Research Station 17. Your child is safe and unharmed. The cub is with one of our doctors. It appears healthy and calm. There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, shaking with emotion. I am Roth. Sula is my child. I must see. I must come to station. Please allow. Minho glanced at Hana. She nodded. What else could they do? You may dock at Port 7, Minho said. Come alone. No weapons. We mean no harm to you or your child. No weapons, Roth agreed. I come now. Thank you. Thank you for keeping Sula safe. The communication ended. Minho let out a breath he had been holding. A Velcri is about to board this station. Do you understand what that means? We've never allowed one of them inside a human facility. Never. It means a parent is coming to find their child, Hana said simply. That's all that matters right now. The cub, Sula, made a happy chirping sound. It seemed to sense that something good was happening. The little creature crawled up Hana's arm to her shoulder, moving with surprising confidence. It settled there, its tail wrapping around her neck gently. Not squeezing, just holding on. It trusts you completely, Minho said. Hana, I need you to understand something. This isn't normal behavior. Not for Velcri, not for any predator species. What's happening here is unprecedented. I know, Hana said. She could feel Sula's warmth against her neck. The cub's heartbeat was faster now, excited rather than scared. But I don't understand why. Why did it choose me? Maybe we'll get answers when Roth arrives, Minho said. He checked his display again. The ship is moving into docking position. We have maybe 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes felt both too long and too short. Hana stayed in the observation bay with Sula, talking softly to the cub. Minho left to greet Roth personally, leaving Taeyang with Hana for safety. But Hana didn't feel afraid. She felt oddly calm. Sula played with a strand of her hair, gentle and curious. The cub's claws stayed retracted, never scratching. It made happy sounds, enjoying the simple game. Hana found herself smiling despite the tension of the situation. "You're a sweet thing, aren't you?" she whispered to Sula. "So much smaller than everyone thinks your kind should be. So much gentler." The door opened. Hana looked up, expecting Minho. Instead, a Velcry stood in the doorway. Roth was massive, even by Velcry standards. He stood at least 3 meters tall, his scaled body covered in battle scars. His eyes glowed the same golden color as Sula's, but brighter, more intense. Claws extended from his hands, each one as long as Hana's forearm. He looked like he could tear the station apart with his bare hands, but his expression was not aggressive. It was desperate and relieved and overwhelmed. He looked at Sula on Hana's shoulder and made a sound that needed no translation. It was the sound of a parent finding their lost child. "Sula," Roth said, his voice breaking. The cub chirped and looked at Roth, but instead of jumping to its parent, Sula pressed closer to Hana's neck. The little creature was happy to see Roth, that much was clear. But it didn't leave Hana's side. Roth's eyes widened. He stared at Hana, then at Sula, then back at Hana. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with shock. "Impossible. The Takareth. The cub has chosen." "Chosen what?" Hana asked carefully. Roth took a shaky step forward. Taeyang tensed, but the large Velcry wasn't being threatening. He was simply stunned. "Chosen you," Roth said. "As Bond Guardian, as family. This has never happened with alien species. Never in all our history." Behind Roth, Minho appeared in the doorway. His expression suggested he had already heard this explanation. "Dr. Hana," he said quietly, "we need to talk about what this means." "What you've just become." Sula chirped happily and nuzzled Hana's cheek. The little creature had no idea it had just changed everything. They moved to a larger meeting room. Roth had to duck through doorways, his massive frame barely fitting in spaces designed for humans. He never took his eyes off Sula, who remained perched on Hana's shoulder like a small dragon. The cub seemed completely content, occasionally chirping and playing with Hana's hair. Ambassador Somin arrived an hour later, having taken an emergency transport from the nearest diplomatic station. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that worked faster than most people could follow. Hana had met her once before, at a conference about first contact protocols. The ambassador had seemed nice then. Now she looked calculating. "Tell me exactly what happened," Somin said, taking a seat across from Hana. Roth stood nearby, too large for the furniture. Minho and Taeyang flanked the door. Jiwoo had been called in to take notes, and the young man's eyes kept darting between Sula and Roth with barely contained excitement. Hana explained everything. The quiet night in the lab, the touch on her arm, waking to find Sula wrapped around her. She left nothing out. Somin listened without interrupting, her expression giving nothing away. When Hana finished, Somin turned to Roth. "Explain the Takareth to me." "In detail." Wraith's voice rumbled, the translator working to keep up. "It is our oldest tradition. When a cub reaches 3 weeks of age, it begins to explore. The cub seeks a bond guardian, someone to teach and protect during growth. Usually the cub chooses its parent, sometimes another Velcry warrior, but always our own kind." "Until now," Somin said. "Until now," Roth agreed. He looked at Sula with a mixture of pride and confusion. "Sula wandered from our settlement on Velcros Prime. I searched for 2 days. I thought my child was dead. Then I traced Sula's tracking signal to this station." He paused. "When I heard Sula was safe, I was grateful. When I learned what happened, I did not believe. I had to see, and what do you see?" Somin asked. Roth watched Sula nuzzle Hana's neck. "I see my child has chosen well. This human has good heart. Sula knows. Cubs always know." Somin tapped her fingers on the table. "What are the obligations of a bond guardian?" "To teach the cub our ways," Roth said. "To train them in hunting, fighting, surviving. To guide them until they are adult. It takes 4 years. 4 years," Somin repeated. She looked at Hana. "You understand what he's saying? This isn't temporary. If you accept this bond, you're committing to raising a Velcry cub, teaching it things you don't know how to do, living with a creature that will grow into one of the galaxy's most dangerous predators." Hana felt Sula shift on her shoulder. The cub seemed to sense the tension in the room. It made a small, worried sound. Without thinking, Hana reached up and gently stroked Sula's head. The cub calmed immediately, purring softly. "What happens if I refuse?" Hana asked quietly. The room went silent. Roth's expression became pained. If bond is rejected, cub becomes lost. No direction. No purpose. Most die within months. Some survive but grow wrong. Violent, unstable. He looked directly at Hana. But I would not force you. You did not ask for this. My child chose without knowing what it meant. I would take Sula home, try to help. Try to make another bond. It rarely works, but I would try. Sula chirped and pressed closer to Hana. The little creature seemed to understand they were talking about it. About separation. There's another factor to consider, Somin said. Her voice was carefully neutral. Dr. Hana, if you accept this bond, you become the first human to be accepted into Velcry culture. The political implications are enormous. We've been trying to establish better relations with the Velcry for decades. This could open doors. I'm not a politician, Hana said. No, you're something more valuable, Somin replied. You're a bridge. A connection between our species. She's also a person, Minho said sharply. And this is her choice, not a political opportunity for you to exploit. Somin's expression didn't change. I'm simply pointing out the reality of the situation. Whatever Dr. Hana decides will have consequences beyond her personal life. Hana closed her eyes. She could feel Sula's small body against her, warm and trusting. The cub had no idea it had put her in this position. It was just a baby, looking for safety and love. How could she reject that? But how could she accept it? She was a scientist, not a warrior. She studied life, she didn't train it to hunt and kill. Can I see what Sula will become? Hana asked Wrath. Full grown, I mean. I need to understand, Wrath nodded slowly. He pulled up a holographic display from a device on his belt. An image appeared in the air between them. A fully grown Velcry standing on a cliff edge silhouetted against a sunset. The creature was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. 3 meters tall, covered in armored scales, muscles visible beneath the skin, claws like swords, teeth designed to tear through anything. This is what Velcry become, Wrath said quietly. Strong, fierce, but also loyal, protective. We guard what we love with our lives. This is what I would teach Sula. What you would teach if you accept the bond. How? Hana asked. I don't know how to teach any of that. I would help, Wrath said. Bond Guardian is not alone. The parent still teaches, still guides, but the Guardian gives something else. Something I cannot give Sula now. What's that? Wrath was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. My mate died in battle 2 years ago. I have tried to be both parents to Sula, but I cannot give my child the gentle touch. The soft voice. The patience for small questions. I am warrior. I teach strength. But Sula needs more than strength. Hana looked at the massive Velcry. She saw past the scars and the claws to the father underneath. A father who was admitting he couldn't do this alone. Who was asking, not demanding for help. Sula chirped and climbed onto Hana's head, tangling itself in her hair. The cub seemed determined to be as close to her as possible. Hana reached up carefully and extracted the small creature, bringing it down to look into its golden eyes. You're going to be big and scary one day, she told Sula softly. Do you know that? You're going to have claws that could slice through metal, teeth that could bite through bone. You're going to be a predator. Sula tilted its head, listening to her voice. The cub didn't understand the words, but it understood the tone. Gentle, caring, safe. But right now you're small, Hana continued. Right now you need someone. And somehow you picked me. She felt tears building in her eyes. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm strong enough or brave enough. But I know that if I say no, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. She looked at Wrath. I accept the bond. I'll be Sula's guardian. But I need help. I need you to teach me your ways. I need to understand how to do this right. Relief flooded Wrath's face. He dropped to one knee, bringing his massive head level with Hana's. I will teach you everything. I will be with you both. You have given my child a future. I owe you a debt I can never repay. Somin leaned back in her chair. Then we have an agreement. Dr. Hana accepts the role of bond guardian with Wrath's assistance. The Velcry acknowledge this bond as legitimate within their culture. She looked at Minho. Captain, we'll need to make accommodations. Living quarters suitable for both a human and a growing Velcry. Training facilities, resources. Already planning it, Minho said. He was smiling. This is going to change everything, isn't it? Yes, Somin said simply. For better or worse, this changes everything. An alarm sounded. Everyone tensed. Jiwoo looked at his datapad and went pale. Captain, we have incoming ships. Multiple signatures. Velcry configurations, Roth stood quickly. My people. They heard I found Sula. They come to witness. A witness what? Hana asked, holding Sula closer. The bonding ceremony, Roth said. If you truly accept this, it must be made official. In front of witnesses. In the Velcry way. He looked worried. There will be a test. To prove you are worthy. I thought we would have time to prepare. But if they are here now, what kind of test? Minho demanded. The ships were approaching fast. Hana could see them on the room's display screens. 5 Velcry warships moving into formation around the station. A voice came over the communication system speaking in Velcry. The translator rendered it into English. I am Elder Thess. I come to witness this impossible thing. This human who claims bond with Velcry cub. Bring her forth. Let us see if she is worthy, or if this is insult to our traditions. Roth's hands clenched into fists. Thess is old, traditional. She will not make this easy. Hana stood up, Sula clinging to her shoulder. Then we'll show her that sometimes traditions need to change, that sometimes the impossible is exactly what the galaxy needs. She had no idea what test awaited her, but as she felt Sula's small heartbeat against her skin, she knew she would face it, for this little creature that had chosen her, for the future it represented, for a bond that should have been impossible, but somehow felt more right than anything Hana had ever done. Elder Thess was ancient. Hana could see it in the way the old Velcry moved, in the pale color of her scales, in the wisdom and suspicion that burned in her golden eyes. She arrived with 4 other Velcry, all warriors by the look of them. They filled the station's largest cargo bay, which suddenly felt too small. Hana stood in the center of the bay, Sula still on her shoulder. The cub had become quiet, sensing the seriousness of the moment. Roth stood beside Hana, his presence both comforting and intimidating. Minho, Somin, Taiyang, and Jiwoo watched from a raised platform, along with a dozen other station personnel who had been called to witness. Thess circled Hana slowly. The old Velcry's claws clicked against the metal floor with each step. Small, she said finally. Weak, soft skin, dull teeth. This is what my Sula has chosen? She looked at Roth. Your child has poor judgment. My child's judgment is perfect, Roth replied calmly. Sula sees what you do not yet see, Elder. Then show me, Thess demanded. She turned to Hana. Human, tell me why you wish this bond. Speak truth. I will know if you lie. Hana met the Elder's gaze. Those eyes had seen centuries of life, maybe more. They had watched empires rise and fall. Hana felt very young and very small, but she didn't look away. I don't know if I wish it, Hana said honestly. I didn't choose this. Sula chose me. But now that it's happened, I can't walk away. This little one needs someone. It needs safety and love and guidance. If I can provide that, then I will. Not because it's politically useful. Not because it makes me special. But because it's the right thing to do. Thess studied her for a long moment. You fear failure? Yes, Hana admitted. I'm afraid I'll do this wrong. That I'll hurt Sula by not knowing enough, not being enough. Good, Thess said. Fear of failure makes us careful. Makes us try harder. She looked at Sula. But the cub must learn more than gentleness, must learn to hunt, to fight to survive. Can you teach this? No, Hana said. Not alone, but Wrath will help, and I'll learn. I'll do whatever it takes. Words are easy, Thess said. She gestured to her warriors. Actions show truth. There will be 3 tests. Pass all 3 and the bond is recognized. Fail even one and the cub returns to our people. Do you accept these terms? Hana's heart pounded. She felt Sula shift nervously on her shoulder. The cub's tail wrapped tighter around her neck. What are the tests? That is revealed when you accept, Thess said. Choose now, human. Face the tests or refuse the bond. Roth leaned close to Hana. His voice was barely a whisper. The test will be hard, possibly dangerous. I will not judge you if you refuse. Hana looked at him, then at Sula. The little cub was watching her with those bright golden eyes, trusting, innocent, waiting to see what she would do. How could she refuse? This creature had already given her its complete trust. The least she could do was fight for the right to keep it. I accept the test, Hana said loudly. All 3. I won't fail. Thess's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Respect, maybe. Or curiosity. Very well. The first test is strength. Not physical strength, but strength of will. You must enter the pain chamber. Two of the Velcry warriors brought forward a strange device. It looked like a chair surrounded by crystalline structures. The crystals glowed with a pale blue light. Hana had never seen anything like it. What does it do? She asked. It creates pain, Tess explained. Mental pain. Emotional pain. It finds your worst memories, your deepest fears, and makes you experience them again. Most species cannot last more than 30 seconds before they break. A Velcry warrior must last 3 minutes to earn their marks. She gestured to the scars on her own arms. You must last 1 minute. If you scream, if you beg to stop, if you try to leave the chair, you fail. Hana's mouth went dry. 1 minute, Tess confirmed. Roth will hold Sula during the test. The cub cannot help you. You face this alone. Hana carefully removed Sula from her shoulder. The cub made protesting sounds, clinging to her with its small claws. It's okay, Hana whispered. I'll be right back. I promise. She handed Sula to Roth, who cradled the small creature gently in his massive hands. Hana walked to the chair and sat down. The crystals hummed, their light growing brighter. One of the warriors touched a control and the test began. Pain exploded through Hana's mind. Not physical pain, but worse. She was 5 years old again, watching her father's ship explode during a mining accident. She was 12, sitting at her mother's bedside as cancer took her away. She was 20, failing her first major exam, feeling like all her dreams were crashing down. The memories weren't just remembered. They were relived. Every emotion, every sensation as fresh and raw as the day they happened. Hana's hands gripped the chair's arms. Her teeth clenched. Tears streamed down her face. But she didn't scream. 30 seconds, the pain shifted. New fears emerged. She saw herself failing Sula. The cub growing up twisted and wrong because she didn't know what she was doing. She saw Sula attacking someone, hurting them, and it was her fault for not teaching control. She saw the cub dying because she wasn't fast enough, wasn't smart enough, wasn't good enough. 45 seconds. The pain was overwhelming. Every nerve in her body screamed to run, to escape, to make it stop. Her vision blurred. Her breathing came in ragged gasps. But through the pain she heard something. A small chirping sound. Sula calling for her. That sound became an anchor. Hana focused on it, used it to push back against the pain. She thought about the cub's trust, about the gentle weight on her shoulder, about the responsibility she had accepted. If she couldn't handle 1 minute of pain, how could she handle 4 years of guardianship? 1 minute, the crystals powered down. The pain vanished as suddenly as it had come. Hana slumped in the chair, gasping for air. Sweat covered her skin. Her whole body shook. But she hadn't screamed, hadn't begged, hadn't run. Roth was there immediately, helping her stand. Sula scrambled from his hands onto Hana's shoulder, nuzzling her face frantically. The cub made worried sounds, trying to comfort her. First test passed, Tess said. There was definitely respect in her voice now. You have strength of will. But will alone is not enough. The second test is wisdom. You must prove you understand what Sula needs. What the bond means. A holographic display appeared in the air. It showed different scenarios, each one presenting a choice. I will describe situations, Tess said. You will tell me what you would do. There are no wrong answers, but your choices will reveal your understanding. The first scenario appeared. A teenage Sula attacking another creature in anger. Your bond child loses control and hurts someone weaker, Tess said. What do you do? Hana thought carefully. I would stop Sula immediately, firmly but without violence. Then I would remove us from the situation and talk about what happened, why the anger came, what could have been done differently, and there would be consequences. Not punishment for the sake of punishment, but to teach that actions have results. Tess nodded. The next scenario appeared, Sula being challenged by other young Velcry, mocked for having a human guardian. I would let Sula handle it, Hana said, unless it became dangerous. Sula needs to learn to face challenges without me, but I would be there afterward to listen, to support, to remind Sula that being different doesn't mean being wrong. More scenarios followed. Each one tested different aspects of understanding. What to do if Sula wanted to return to the Velcry completely. How to balance human values with Velcry culture, when to be gentle and when to be firm. How to teach a predator to hunt without making it bloodthirsty. Hana answered each one as honestly as she could. She admitted when she wasn't sure. She asked questions when she needed more information. She didn't try to pretend she knew everything. Finally, Tess stopped the display. You think like a teacher, like a parent. Not like a warrior, but that is not bad. Sula will need both warrior and parent. You provide one, Wraith provides other. This is wisdom, she turned to her warriors. Second test passed. Hana felt relief wash through her. 2 down, 1 to go. What's the third test? The hardest, Thess said. The test of the bond itself. You and Sula will be separated, placed in different rooms. Both of you will hear the other in distress. False distress. Recorded sounds. You will want to go to each other. Want to protect. But you must stay where you are. Must trust that the other is safe. This tests the bond's foundation. Trust. If either of you breaks, if either of you cannot resist the call, the bond is too weak. It will not survive the years ahead. Hana's stomach dropped. That seems cruel. Especially to Sula. The cub won't understand it's fake. Life is often cruel, Thess said. Better to test the bond now while Sula is young and can form new bonds than to discover its weakness later when it is too late. Do you accept the third test? Hana looked at Sula. The cub gazed back at her, trusting and innocent. Putting them both through fear seemed wrong. But Thess had a point. If their bond couldn't handle this test, how would it handle real danger? Real separation? How long does the test last? Hana asked. 5 minutes, Thess said. You will hear Sula crying, screaming, calling for you. You must not leave your room. Sula will hear the same from you. The cub must not try to escape its room. 5 minutes. It sounded like forever. But Hana had already come this far. I accept, she said. Then she crouched down, looking at Sula eye to eye. Listen to me, little one. We're going to be apart for a few minutes. Here they took Hana to a small room with bare metal walls. No windows. One door which locked from the outside. She heard it click shut and felt truly alone for the first time since Sula had climbed onto her arm. The room was silent, empty, cold. Then the sound started. Sula's cries filled the room. Distressed chirps that turned into screams. The cub sounded terrified, hurt, desperate. Every instinct in Hana's body screamed to go to it. To break down the door if necessary. To hold Sula and make the fear stop. Her hands pressed against the metal door. Her heart raced. The logical part of her brain knew this was a test. Knew the sounds were recorded, not real. But the emotional part didn't care. That was Sula crying. Her Sula. The creature that trusted her completely. And she was standing here doing nothing. 1 minute passed. The cries got worse. Now there were other sounds mixed in. Snarling. Fighting. It sounded like something was attacking Sula. Hana's fingernails dug into her palms. Blood from where her nails cut skin dripped onto the floor. She didn't notice. 2 minutes. Hana slid down the door until she sat on the floor. Tears ran down her face. It's not real, she whispered to herself. It's not real. Sula is safe. This is just a test. Just a test. But what if it wasn't? What if something had gone wrong? What if Sula actually needed her and she was just sitting here? The doubt ate at her mind. 3 minutes. The sounds changed. Now it was Sula's voice, but different, weaker, fading like the cub was giving up, losing hope. That sound was worse than the screaming. It was the sound of abandonment. Hana's hand reached for the door handle. She could force it. Taeyang had shown her once how to override these locks in an emergency. It would take 30 seconds, maybe less. She could get to Sula, could end this nightmare. Her fingers touched the metal, then stopped. This was the test. Trust. If she couldn't trust that Sula was safe when she knew it was a test, how could she trust anything? How could she teach Sula to trust her if she didn't trust the situation? The bond needed foundation. This was it. Hana pulled her hand back. She pressed her forehead against the door and focused on breathing. In and out, steady, calm, the way she would need to be calm when real danger came, when Sula really needed her to think clearly instead of just react. 4 minutes. The sounds were almost unbearable now. But Hana stayed. She pictured Sula in her mind, safe, healthy, strong. She thought about the future, teaching the cub to hunt, watching it grow, being there for all the moments that mattered. This pain now would make those moments possible. 5 minutes. The sound stopped. Silence filled the room. Hana didn't move at first. She wasn't sure her legs would hold her. Then the door unlocked. It swung open. Thess stood there with Wrath beside her, and in Wrath's arms, Sula. The cub was fine. Completely unharmed. The moment Sula saw Hana, it scrambled out of Wrath's grip and launched itself at her. Hana caught Sula, holding the cub tight against her chest. The little creature was shaking, but unhurt. It chirped and nuzzled and clung to her like it would never let go. Hana buried her face in Sula's scales and let herself cry properly now. The cub also passed, Thess said quietly. Sula heard you in distress, heard you calling. The little one tried to escape once, but then stopped. Sat down, waited. Both of you have passed the test of trust. Hana looked up at the elder through her tears. That was cruel. Yes, Thess agreed. But necessary. The bond between warrior and guardian must be unbreakable. Now I know it is. She stepped forward and placed one massive hand on Hana's head. It was surprisingly gentle. You have proven yourself human. You have strength, wisdom, and trust. I recognize this bond as legitimate. Sula has chosen well. The other Velcry warriors made sounds of agreement. It reminded Hana of applause, but deeper, more ceremonial. Wrath's eyes shone with emotion. Thank you, Elder, he said. Thank you for seeing what I see. I see a strange thing, Thess said. But strange does not mean wrong. She looked at Hana. I will tell our people about this. Some will be angry. Some will not understand. But I will tell them that I witnessed the bond, tested it, and found it true. That will matter to most. And those it doesn't matter to? Someone asked. The ambassador had come down from the observation platform. They will be a problem for another day, Thess said. Today we celebrate. A new bond guardian has been accepted. This has not happened in 50 years. It is a rare and precious thing. What followed was unlike any ceremony Hana had experienced. The Velcry brought food from their ships, strange meats and fermented drinks that smelled terrible but tasted surprisingly good. They told stories of other guardians throughout history. Great warriors who raised cubs that became legends. Hana sat with Sula in her lap, listening to it all. Jiwoo translated when the automatic translators struggled with ceremonial language. The young assistant was taking notes frantically, documenting everything. This would be studied for years, Hana realized. She was making history just by sitting here. Captain Minho approached with a glass of something that sparkled. For you, he said. Human alcohol this time. Thought you might need it. Hana took it gratefully. This is insane. This whole thing is insane. Agreed, Minho said. But it's also amazing. Do you realize what you've done? The Velcry have been isolated for centuries. They respected strength, nothing else. But you've shown them something different. Something they didn't know they were missing. What's that? Hana asked. Connection, Minho said. Real connection. Not just between warriors, but between different ways of thinking, different types of strength. He gestured to where Wrath was talking with Thess. Look at them. They're discussing setting up a cultural exchange. Velcry visiting human stations. Humans visiting Velcry worlds. None of that was possible yesterday. Hana watched the two Velcry talk. It was true. Something had shifted. One small cub choosing one random human had opened a door that had been locked for generations. Days passed. The station adjusted to its new reality. Wrath moved into quarters next to Hana's. They were expanded to accommodate both species. Sula had room to play, to climb, to grow. The cub was eating well, sleeping well, and learning fast. Dr. Junho arrived from Earth, fascinated by the biological aspects of the bond. He ran tests on both Hana and Sula, always gentle and careful. His findings were remarkable. Your brain chemistry is changing, he told Hana one afternoon. When you're near Sula, you produce a specific combination of hormones, oxytocin, dopamine, and something else we haven't identified yet. It's similar to what parents produce when bonding with children, but stronger. What does that mean? Hana asked. Sula was curled up on her desk, batting at her stylus whenever she tried to write. It means the bond is biological, not just behavioral, Junho explained. Your body is adapting to Sula's presence, and Sula's body is adapting to yours. I took samples from Wraith too. His chemistry shows the same patterns when he's near his child. But there's something different in you. Different how? Junho pulled up charts on his display. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We didn't chase prey down with speed or strength. We wore them down, followed them for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. That required patience, endurance, empathy even, understanding the animal we hunted. Okay, Hana said slowly. That evolution left markers in our biology. Junho continued. We produce specific pheromones when we're calm and focused. Those pheromones have an unexpected effect on predator species. They're soothing, reassuring. It's why Sula fell asleep on your arm that first night. Your body was telling the cub that you were safe. Hana stared at him. Are you saying humans are naturally good at calming predators? I'm saying you specifically are exceptional at it, Junho said. But yes, I think humans in general have this ability. We just never had reason to use it before. Predators avoided us, so we avoided them. But if they don't avoid us, if they choose to be near us like Sula chose you, then we have a natural advantage. The implications were staggering. Hana thought about all the predator species in the galaxy, the ones everyone feared. What if humans could bridge that gap? What if they could help those species the way they were helping Sula? More Velcri began visiting the station. They came to see the impossible thing for themselves. Most were respectful. A few were hostile. But none of them could deny what they saw when Sula and Hana were together. The bond was real. Kess, a Velcri scientist, became a regular visitor. She was younger than Thess, but just as intelligent. She proposed a research project studying the biological aspects of bonding between species. Junho and Hana both agreed immediately. This could change everything, Kess said during one of their meetings. Her translator made her excitement clear. My people have been alone so long. We thought we were complete as we were. But watching Sula with you, seeing how the cub develops differently, better perhaps, it makes me wonder what we have missed. Better? Roth asked. He had been quiet during the meeting, but now he looked concerned. How is Sula developing differently? The cub is gentler, Kess explained. More patient, but still strong, still fierce when needed. Sula is learning balance. Most Velcri cubs learn only aggression first. Balance comes later if it comes at all. But Sula learns both at once. This could help many young ones who struggle with control. Roth considered this. Then he nodded. My mate was gentle.